Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And I'm not talking about the Caribbean. Yeah, that's a nice place, sure. I'm talking about Hawaii. It is such a unique place, wonderful people, amazing culture, and she helps people with all of that. Simple Kona Beach Weddings is her company. She helps people, I mean, literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds over a number of years with that journey of getting married. But why? I know it's paradise. Why are we picking Hawaii? Why do we renew our vows? What's even the significance of marriage? Let's dig into that today with our professional of the year. Becky Ringler is on the program with us. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks, Steve. This is a really fun topic, and I'm really actually excited to talk about it because I always ask the question to my couples when I'm talking to them, like, why Hawaii? I always dig in also, like how long they've been together. I always get a little history of them. But I think for most people, there's like so many parts to this question, which are going to be fun to answer. But I think a lot of people choose Hawaii. Either it's, often, if I have couples from the West Coast, it's a place that's special to them. They've been here many times. It's much easier to get to if you live on the West Coast. But for a lot of couples, it's like the dream vacation. It's like the bucket list location that they've always wanted to go. They have this fantasy about going to Hawaii, and why not get married there too, right? And for many people, it is maybe the one and only time that they will make it here, and they decide to kind of couple it with their wedding, which I think is really special because this is a very unique place. Yes, there are many tropical places around the world, but Hawaii is a incredibly special location in and of its own, and it's the I believe it is the farthest populated landmass from any other landmass anywhere in the world. There's lots of unpopulated places that are more remote, but Hawaii is like the furthest away from any other populated place, I believe. So there's something really, I think, kind of special about this, going to this remote place to get married. And I also, honestly, I marry a lot of people that have been, I mean, occasionally it is the first marriage, but a lot of times it is their second, third, fourth, whatever marriage. Or the couple has been together like a really long time, like sometimes decades before they finally decide to like, hey, let's just get married. How about now? Um, and when people get married here, they do it because it's for them. Like they really want it to be about them and not about everybody else. Even if they bring guests, it's still the focus is really on the couple and their love. And I think that makes it really special. We can definitely dig into more of that, but I hope that answers the first.
Yeah. Well, what do you hear? The surprises you hear from people when they come there, they get married there. Like I didn't realize, fill in the blank. I didn't realize blank about Hawaii or even about your island.
Um, I think the biggest thing that people are surprised about, especially on this island, I mean, all the islands here are really unique, so they all have different things about them. We have so much. There are 10 of the 12 world's climates here on this island, so it's very diverse in terms of like just you can like
Hmm.
drive, an hour and all of a sudden you're in really jungly territory. And then there's very deserty territory. And of course it can snow at the top of Mauna Kea. And actually most of the mountain peaks here can snow. They're very, very high elevation.
That's it. Thank you for sharing that because most of us just think, well, it's warm,
Yeah, it
tropical.
is. I mean, generally speaking, it's warm, but it can be very cold here. It's cold at our volcano down south where it's erupting right now on and off at Kilauea. And the funny thing about that particular volcano is that you don't notice the elevation. It is very gradual. You don't feel like you're on top of a mountain there, but it's really high up and it's often cold. I always tell people, every time I'm like, please bring a jacket. If you're going to do any like traveling around the island, you need to bring a jacket, maybe even a
Hmm.
hat. It can be, especially in the winter, really cold in those places. It's always hot at the beach, or at least warm at the beach. So there's never any concern about that, but it can be cold in other parts
You
for
brought
sure.
back a memory. I believe it was the road to Hana, if I want to,
Oh, yeah. Maui. Yeah.
And that's cold, right? Can
Mhm.
when you get up there. I just remember this temperature. I just flicked in my head, 45 degrees. I don't know why that flicked in my head. Um, and you got to leave first thing in the morning because it takes a while to get there. Um, have you ever been in snow on Hawaii?
Uh, I have not, although we went one time. Of course, people do all the time. They travel up to the snow, like when it's snowing in Mauna Kea, and they bring snow. The big thing is you take your pickup truck, you shovel snow into the trunk, and then you bring it to the beach. Like that's the thing. Like you and you drive it down to the beach where it's like 80. Um, but I have not. People do uh, snowboard and ski. They try to. I mean, you're going to wreck your board. Don't. My husband is a former semi-pro snowboarder. He would never ruin a board doing that, but you could technically do that when it's snowing up there. But we've certainly been places where it is so cold. Like I have a full winter jacket on and a hat because it's like, high 30s,
Wow.
really cold. But that was at the volcano down south. Um, and we went up to the weather station in Mauna Loa. I don't even know if that's open anymore because of the eruption back in 2022 kind of covered that whole area. But there's like a cool like weather station up there, and you can take this really neat road up there. And it was really cold that day. You get out of the car for a few minutes, you're like, okay, and you get back in if you're not prepared and you don't have a coat with you. But yeah, it's
Are there seasons? Is it seasonal? Like, for example, in that cold spot, is it colder in December as opposed to
yeah.
July?
Yeah, we're still in the northern hemisphere, technically, although we're very close to the equator. But it is we do have seasons. And as an East Coast girl, upstate New York person originally,
Hmm.
I feel very sensitive to seasons, and I feel like you can definitely feel the seasons here. Like now we're in June, and it feels like June to me. Like it's brighter, it's sunnier, it's a little warmer. The water's calm. It's like it feels like summer. Summer here still feels like summer. And as you move into fall, okay, it still feels like summer. It always feels like summer, but there are subtle changes. There's subtle changes in the light. Again, there's not a huge um, like other places in the country or the world, there's not huge changes in the amount of light because we are so close to the equator, but it does darken a little bit. There's like an hour and 20 minutes, I think, that is the difference between the winter and the summer. It can get a little colder at night. It sort of feels like fall or feels like winter, which seems ridiculous because it is very microscopic differences, but you can feel it.
Mm.
Uh,
Do you miss the big change in seasons?
No, I miss fall. I love fall. So I do miss fall. Probably that's one of my favorite seasons. I love the smell of the crisp in the air and all that kind of stuff. But I am a summer person, so I do not mind uh, in general because at least where I grew up, the winter lasted way too long, and I I would prefer to always live in summer like I do and then visit other seasons periodically. That suits me. I would rather just throw on a dress and be done with it. I don't want like 20,000 layers of clothes all the time.
Now,
So,
when you talk about fall, do you see the leaves on the trees there in Hawaii change? Do they
no,
drop?
nope, no, there are no, but the difference is the flowers. So it flowers bloom all year round, but the flowers change by the season because there are certain, um, obviously it's a little different every year, but sometimes the rain patterns change, or if it gets too cold at night, some flowers don't do well. Like plumerias do not do well if it's cold. I say that in quotes, cold at night. If it gets into the 60s, they might fall off the trees. And then they have to rebloom. They start reblooming if it's a warm fall, a warm winter, they all the colors keep blooming. But most of the time, like in the summer, we have all the plumeria colors, the yellows and the pinks and the dark pinks and the um, creamy colors and sunset colors. And in the winter, it's probably yellow. That's the hardiest plumeria. So I feel like our flowers definitely change per season. There are certain flowers that only grow in February, for instance. And I'm sensitive to that because when people are asking for bouquets or leis, I'm like, might not get that in December. Or so I tell people to just be ready to make a change or to be flexible because some flowers we're not going to have, and it just depends on the year. If it's unseasonably warm, probably no problem. But You never know.
I'm quietly laughing inside when you said, when it gets cold at night in the 60s. I'm like,
Yeah, oh,
uh,
I know.
uh,
I know that
uh,
that's not
uh,
cool.
like
Here I feel
that's been our
cold.
daytime high in New York.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's warmer lately. Everybody's complaining how it's been very chilly. It's going to warm up later this week, finally, to in the 70s, maybe touching 80. Um, Renewing of the vows. That's a big thing for you, helping people with that. What do people tell you? What's their mindset? On the surface, well, yeah, okay. They let's say it's an anniversary, and that's a nice way to signify that, renew your vows. But what else can you tell us? What do you hear?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, anniversaries are just one reason, and it's a really nice way to commemorate or to honor your marriage through an anniversary. But I have done many a vow renewal for many other reasons. Sometimes, the couple's been through a really hard time and they want to reaffirm their commitment to marriage to each other. Um, Sometimes a partner has been sick, with cancer or a life-threatening something, and they really feel like that's really important to renew their vows. Like they made it through the other side and now they're starting a new section, or someone's really sick and they want to just let the other person know how much they love them. Um, so usually and occasionally it's just like, oh my God, we said if we ever made it to Hawaii, like we really wanted a Hawaiian wedding the first time. And so with second, more than if it's not your first marriage, people often get married here because that's what they really wanted to do the first time. But if they're very happily married, if they finally make it to Hawaii, they're like, we need to do a vow renewal because this is the kind of wedding we really wanted. So now we get to do the wedding we really
Uh,
wanted. So it's really special. I mean, there's so many different reasons people do vow renewals and I love that. I think it makes it really special. Everyone has a different reason. Um and it's yeah. I just did a really
mm.
nice one a couple days ago, and the wife surprised her husband, and she said even after she told him on the trip, he didn't think it was really going to happen because apparently she never plans anything, and he was so touched and surprised that it actually happened, and it was really beautiful. So it was
Wow.
really fun.
Yeah. Can you walk us through a few of those? Like pick any recent ceremony situation, whether it was a wedding, a renewal, and just kind of paint the picture.
Sure. Well, there's so many to
Right
choose
down,
from.
right down to the details, time of day, weather, um, maybe what they were wearing, and just go random. Pick anyone.
Yeah.
Last one you did.
Okay, let's see. I think that the one that is coming to mind, well, the vow renewal that I had, I will tell you about that. That was a recent one, and um, they chose a beach in town. So often we have different beaches in different locations, but they really wanted one close to town where they were staying. And she really loved the idea of being like kind of on this little lava rock cliff. I did meet with the couple. In this particular case, because she surprised him, I met with them the same morning. Often I will meet them a couple days after they arrive, but before their wedding, to pick their spot on the beach. So in this case, we met the same morning of their vow renewal.
Mm.
And we walked together on the beach. I showed them the spot because she'd wanted this little lava cliff. Um, and we walked up there and she's like, oh, this is going to be great, and I go over things with them. And then I set up for them, they had a flower heart on the lava. And the flowers, when I set up the flower heart, I do flower hearts in circles often in the sand or on the lava. It creates a really nice space since arches are technically not allowed on the beach here. Um, and the flowers on the lava look really spectacular because they just, this black rock, and then you've got these bright plumerias that just, and orchids, they just pop. And it was actually kind of an overcast evening when they arrived, but there was still like sun. It wasn't rainy. It was extremely dramatic. The water is sort of like whooshing up against the cliff, and it was just
Mm.
it was really beautiful and very touching. And they have their two children with them. And it was just a very intimate experience. It's always really interesting when I'm doing the ceremony to also look at their faces. Like, I really wish I could have a camera like right here. I mean, I could, right? I could wear like but I think if they have any other photos, that would be very ugly. But I really wish that I could take pictures because the looks and the things that I see on their faces are so just reading the emotions when people are really present, or if they're trying to not. Sometimes they're really holding it in, and they seem like they have no emotion, but really they're trying not to cry. And so then they check out, but they're really there. And then all of a sudden a crack will happen, and they'll laugh or they'll cry or something will occur. Um, it's just really joyous, and I felt really. I always feel so grateful to be a part of these moments because it's even in this case, that was a renewal. I feel so lucky that I get to be part of their love story, right? So it's
Hmm.
another step in their love story. And um, yeah, it was really beautiful.
How do you not cry?
Occasionally I do. Most of the time I'm able to hold it together. There's sort of like this, that actress in me knows how to like rein in like to hold it because I need to hold the space. Like I feel like, and that's also the therapist in me, like needing to hold the look. I need to hold it because if I lose it, then the whole thing is lost. But there are occasions where I have cried. Like their vows are so touching and everyone is crying. Including me. I mean, I'm able to hold it together, but it's like so the photographer's crying, like everyone's crying because they're just so heartfelt. Um, so yeah, but I always feel like it's my job to hold the emotions so that they are free to express them. And I'm holding the space to make it safe for them. And then I'm also going to guide them back on track so it doesn't go off the rails, right? And no one can continue. So it's a dance for sure.
You mentioned vows, and
Yeah.
I wonder if you've had to help somebody edit. Like, have you taken a look at them? I'm sure this has happened a few times where you look at the vows and you're like, might want to make that a little bit shorter. We have to
So
coach them.
So before, if they tell me they're writing their own vows, I give them a little talk and I say, I want you to, I said, I know it is tempting to write a lot. Sometimes they'll be like, oh, whatever, I'm not going to say anything long, but I'll say, look, I want you to keep them to like a minute or a minute and a half because
Hmm.
any longer and you're going to regret it. I don't care. Like you're out in front of everybody, even if you're alone together, it just feels really long. And people read page after page, and they're like, the panic sets in as that they're like, why did I write so much? And so I usually I share with them these stories of things I've seen from people. And I say, look, if you have so much to say, and I've said this before when we were talking, but put it in a letter and give it to your
Okay.
spouse later that evening, but keep it short when you're doing it because it'll mean more. Because also you're so nervous and there's so many emotions going on, you're not going to remember, honestly, what the other person has said. I mean, you'll remember tidbits, but there's so much. You're like over. Like, I don't remember a lot of my wedding. I remember lots of wonderful snippets, but I don't remember all the
Well,
detail.
it's like
Like,
emotional overload, right?
it is. It's emotional overload in the best way,
Yeah,
hopefully.
yeah, 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 yeah. And responsibility as well, because if you have other family members there, then you want to make sure that they're comfortable, they're enjoying it. But
Yes.
even if it's just you and your partner, do you feel that you want them to be happy as well? There's a lot to process.
It's a lot to process. And I always do paint the picture, like, especially if they've got a lot of people, I'm like, look, people may not be able to hear you. And then if you're waxing on for like 5, 10 minutes, no one's ever done that, thank God. But like the people get antsy. Like it's too long for them to be standing there because there's typically no chairs,
Sure.
which most people are fine with. But if you go on too long, it's like, oh my, it feels too long. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Know when to go.
yeah, exactly.
What else in terms of the true significance of marriage, of wedding? What are your thoughts there? Either you personally or what you've heard from couples or what you've interpreted from couples?
Yeah, I mean, to me, and this is my own experience, but also I've experienced this talking with couples too. I mean, to me, marriage just deepens that. Like, I think about, a lot of times people say, well, it doesn't matter. We've been together. We might as well be married. We've been together X number of years. We're pretty much married. But you can always leave. I mean, you can always leave anyway, right? Of course, even if you're married, you can always leave. But marriage adds, in my experience, I remember before I was married, I had many, luckily, many happily married friends and family members. But they would say, to me, it just added this extra layer of comfort, knowing that now you've made this. And I always tell people this too. Like of course, I knew I was going to be with my husband, but marriage just added this extra step of now I can relax because I don't have to think anymore like, what if, like, I'm with this person, I've decided that we're going to do this together, and there's no like, well, we're not married, so I could leave any moment. And for some people, that's scary, but actually, I feel like marriage creates freedom, which is a really odd kind of thing.
How do you mean?
Because I feel like it takes this underlying, at least for me, it took some of this underlying, I didn't even know it was there, like fear maybe of, uh, will this will this work out? Like it's nothing that I would ever think of actively, but it's sort of like this. And of course, okay, let's be honest. Of course, marriages don't work out sometimes, and that's okay. By the way, if you are in a marriage that's not happy, of course you should get out. Like there's nothing meaning, in my opinion, you don't need to suffer through something miserable because you made that commitment. But hopefully, when you choose the right person, once you've committed to each other, it takes away this like this deciding, I guess, or like this uncertainty that may be lingering in the back of your mind.
Hmm.
Decided you've made this commitment together, and so now that goes away, and now you're like, now I can relax and I can think about I can take away this underlying
Like a true
thing.
direction. You have a true direction, as opposed to, lack of a better description, being in limbo. Nothing wrong with that if that supports you. A lot of
Right.
couples just they don't get married. Okay, great.
Yeah.
If that works
Yeah,
for
and
you.
I mean it is a choice, but I feel like I totally resonate with this when people are like, I don't want I feel like I hate this personally. I hate the image of this ball and chain kind of feeling because I feel like it actually did the opposite for me. It freed me. Um,
Interesting.
and I feel like marriage should feel like freedom instead of choking you. And I don't mean like it's really hard to put a finger on it, but if you make the right choice, you're together as a unit, and then the rest of you can be free to think about other things in your life. Because I
It's
think,
a, it's an interesting way to look at it in
yeah,
terms of there is freedom within marriage.
oh
Um,
yeah,
and if there isn't, then you need to reevaluate that. Um, Great talking today. Learn a lot, like just the emotional aspect of what's going on here. Becky, if somebody's considering maybe getting married in Hawaii or renewing their vows, how do they find you?
well, I think the best way is my website, which is simplekonabeachweddings.com. Also, you can find me on Instagram at Simple Kona Beach Weddings. There's an S on the end, by the way. Facebook, the same thing. Yeah, that's the best way. And then fill out my contact form on my website. That is always the best way. We'll set up a Zoom call and yeah, get to know each other, see if we've got a good fit. It's very exciting.
Great talking with you, and I'm pulling for you. I'm hoping you don't have any more temps in the 60s at night. I'm just
Oh, yeah. Not right now. We're good.
it makes me laugh. Appreciate it. We'll talk soon. Okay.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.